Hello and welcome to another one of these videos, and today I'm going to answer a question or a comment left by VivXR, who wanted me to talk further about what I was talking about in that previous video in time travel to the present moment. And this is one of my kind of key subjects, one of the things I'm really interested in myself, this appreciation and sense of wonder, which was that video was a kind of highlighting a practice that could help us do that could help us more fully appreciate this moment. See, this is such an important realization that each and every moment of our life is precious, but it's up to us to recognize that, and it's just as easy not to, we can just as easily not recognize that, and the problem is we often don't. And the point in that exercise is that just by kind of playing these little kind of mind games with ourselves, we can actually trick ourselves into fully appreciating this moment. So what I was saying in that video, imagine if it was 10 or 20 years in the future. You may look back with nostalgia for this period of your life, even if there's not anything particular going on. I mean, that's the thing about our mind. We can feel nostalgic for times when there's probably not even that much going on. But looking back, there certainly can seem to be with distance. So imagine if you were able to travel back to this period of your life. This moment would suddenly have a hell of a lot more significance for you. That the things you're seeing right now and maybe taking for granted, suddenly everything would be exciting and interesting. But of course we don't have to actually time travel to recognize that. Also, if you were to suddenly realize that you're in the middle of a night dream, this is actually a dream, and none of this was real, which kind of, I kind of treat it all as a dream anyway. But you could, that realization, oh, I'm dreaming. Suddenly everything at this moment may have a much higher significance for you. Suddenly everything would look, wow, isn't this impressive looking? Isn't this incredible that my mind can create all this? See, the point is your mind is creating all this already. And it's waking up to that and seeing that so we can more fully appreciate that and be full of the wonder that this experience of being alive is. This incredible, it is actually incredible how we are able to take life for granted. That there's a huge sky out there, there's a huge golden sun out there, and we act as if those things are nothing. We act as if experiencing things is nothing, but it's absolutely mysterious and miraculous. But we're caught up in these stories that make us feel like we know what's going on, and because we feel we know what's going on, we just dismiss what's going on. In one of the podcasts I was talking about this idea of literalism, that we've placed the world with words, and words are stale, dead things. And what we've done by doing that, by moving out of that sense of wonder, we've moved into this impoverished, dead experience, where all our thoughts are taken literally. So initially our thinking was there to serve us, to help us navigate life, because it's just so incredibly mysterious and full of wonder. We developed this ability to think, but now that thinking has actually replaced life. Almost like, your sat nav, completely replacing the roads. That, you just go where the sat nav goes rather than paying any attention to the roads. And this just leads us in a very, very impoverished place where we're not really here. And we think that we know what life is, but we really don't, because we just are not paying attention. And we may not have paid any attention since very early childhood. And for most of us that can remember, that would have been a time full of a lot more wonder anyway. But over time, as we get older and as we learn more and more, and we replace life with our ideas about life, that all got lost. And I like that story from the Bible about the Garden of Eden. I have my own spin on that. But to me, that's what that's about. That we live in this incredibly this paradise. But then we ate from the tree of knowledge. That's our ability to think in a kind of very literal way about things. And that kicked us out of the Garden of Eden. But of course, we've still always been in the Garden of Eden. It's just a matter of being able to see that again. And that's what wonder and appreciation is all about. It's about coming back to this moment with a real sense of not knowing what this is. And when we do that, something incredible starts to happen. That we start to see that the thing we've always been looking for is already here. And it's always here, and all we have to do is open to that. See, one of the things that happens because we get so wrapped up in thinking is that the nearest thing a lot of us get to wonder is novelty. And what I mean by that is that, we'll do things like we'll go away somewhere nice on holiday, somewhere new and exciting. And because it's all new and exciting, it's, our mind may not have very much to say about it, or not as much to say about it. So we feel very kind of invigorated by the environment. We feel very engaged with the environment. And everything's new and interesting and exotic if we're in a foreign place. But of course, once we've been there for a while, that all goes because the thinking just takes over again and we think we know what's there. It's really difficult. See, one of the things I try to do is I try to imagine what I would say to myself when I was younger. Because that's the nearest I can go to explaining this to people who may not get what I'm saying. It's really difficult to get across what I mean by wonder. In that, just how incredible it is. Just how different it is to my old way of experiencing. That it really is this sense of living in miracle land. And, I'm going to use the title of this video as Magical Moments, because that's what you start to see each moment really is. Somebody was mentioning it in somewhere online to me about using hallucinogenics, something I dabbled in years ago, and they were kind of very much for it. And I don't want to get into all of that. I've got no interest in all of that. But mostly because I've no need for anything like that. The way I experience reality is very, very trippy, and my imagination plays a big part in how I experience reality. And, I wonder if people could actually see inside my head, they would be convinced I'm taking something. Because, my experience of reality at times can be very, very trippy. But not in a way that in any way makes me function less well, quite the opposite. I think that's the difference. I think it was R.D. Laing, the psychiatrist, who once said, that the psychotic drowns in the same seas where the mystic swims with delight. That as we open up our perception, and the way I did that was through stillness, and I believe that's the only way I know how to do was by, it's from this sense of stillness that the whole perception can start to open up again. And this is what I think the painter and poet William Blake meant when he talked about cleaning the doors of perception. So this idea of cleaning the doors of perception so we could see what's actually there, I mean, that got used by people in the 60s to promote drugs like LSD, but I don't think it needs a drug to do that. It's starting to see from stillness. That's what cleans the doors of perception. And then we see that, this sense of something known and dead and static that most of us experience is purely an habitual habit. It's a way of looking that we've been conditioned into doing. It's kind of, we've hardened our way of looking at life as a kind of coping mechanism. And because we've been taught to do that. And often when that hardness, if it isn't hard, I mean, some people will experience that as kind of mental illness. But this is about learning to unharden it as a path to peace and a path to wonder. And for me, and I'd imagine for a lot of people, this is going to be really important. This is going to be really crucial, because it's possible to develop a lot of peace, a great deal of peace, and still have this sense of missing something. And that's where I ended up. But I was convinced that there was nothing else. I kind of, from everything I'd seen, there didn't appear to be anything else other than what I'd found. But I was wrong. I mean, there's this. I was talking to somebody during the week, one of my clients, and I was, talking about that quote by Nisargadatta about, when I look inside, I see that I am nothing. When I look outside, I see that I am everything. And in between those two, my life moves. I think, for me, the path for a long time was looking inside and seeing that I was nothing. And that brought, peace. That in many ways, that was the end of all of my problems. But there was this sense of there's something missing, and that something missing was looking out and seeing that I was everything. And looking out and seeing that, what I'd seen before was just an interpretation based on fear and based on conditioning. And that when I can open up again to this sense of wonder, when we can open up again to this sense of wonder, to this sense of appreciation, to this that we admit that we don't actually know what's going on in life, that life is this incredible, mysterious event. When we can open up to that and admit to that, then our life changes. Then our life becomes magical. Then everything becomes uncertain in a wonderful way. That you really can become a kind of person. A lot of the time, when I'm out walking or running, I'm away with the fairies. Because I'm seeing. And for me, I'll have a lot of kind of imagery come in with reality, or kind of mix in with it, because I work with imaginal stuff. And the boundaries of what's real and what's not real are incredibly blurred, and I don't really know where that boundary is anymore. And I don't really care. For me, it was never about that. It's about, what brings peace, what brings wonder, what brings trust. That's what I care about. That's what I'm about. So I hope that answered the comment by VivXX. If not, you can ask for further clarification. Any of you guys got any questions? Please fire away. I'll be more than happy to answer them. I also do a podcast now. I was putting the podcast on the YouTube channel, but it doesn't seem much point in doing that with it just being audio. But if it's something you want me to do again, you can kind of leave a comment. If you want to, as I say, you can do some coaching with me. I'll leave details about that. And any questions anyone has, as I say, just leave a comment. And thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again. Goodbye.